everyone, and welcome. My name is Palma Accardi, and you are watching Tidal Flooding Talk. We are brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition and filmed live every Sunday night here at the Irish Pub in Atlantic City.
And I'm meteorologist Dan Skeldon. Welcome to March. Welcome to meteorological spring. You got about 18 more days till the calendar says it's spring, March 19th this year. I'm meteorologist Dan Skeldon, and really excited figuring what better way to welcome in meteorological spring with our favorite meteorologist, who needs no introduction, but we will introduce him nonetheless. Jim Eberwine.
How are you, Dan?
Jim, good to see you.
Hi, Jim.
Alma,
Welcome
how
back.
are you? Thank you very much.
And welcome. You were in December, and we were chatting about what the upcoming winter may bring.
Right.
What flooding. What we may see, storm, snow. So we're going to recap the winter that was, or in this case wasn't. Look ahead to the spring a little bit. We welcome your questions and comments as always. And what a great way to kick off the month of March. So thanks for being here.
I certainly appreciate it. I really do. I really do. Thank you.
And before we get started, the New Jersey Coastal Coalition would like to remind our viewers that floodwaters do more than get things wet. They can cause electrical fires, spread contaminants, and wash away buildings. Your best defense is to evacuate, so when your community says it's time to go, then go. Which I'm sure you both can agree with.
Absolutely.
Yes, well, of course, there's been no reason to evacuate, and there's been very little flooding this winter. How unusual is that?
Well, I'll tell you, that's how I measure a good winter.
Right.
People say,
or a bad winter. Right.
Or a bad
right.
winter.
Depending on your point of view.
People say, how much snow we're going to get? I say, well, that's okay, but I look at the coastal flooding aspect, and it was very, very good because, as you said, the only event we had was in October.
Right. And that was what, a moderate flooding?
Yeah, moderate flooding. And if you look at, in fact, I just ran it yesterday, Dan. I went back to December 1st, right through the end of February, 29th of February, and everything was minor or less. I mean, it was really, really a good, in terms of coastal flooding. Now, I know a lot of people were upset that we didn't get a lot of big snows, but again, I was telling Palma earlier, you look at the traffic up and down the boulevards and the expressway, it was packed this winter.
Right.
That's very good. That's very good for the economy and everything.
And just one follow-up question. We measure snow, and obviously I think this winter is like the second least snowy on record, at least so far.
Right.
March can bring snow. April, in a really bad year, can bring snow. Do we measure tidal flooding? Like how many instances? So is there a way of saying, hey, this is one of the least flooding winters that we've seen on record? And I guess it's not an official stat, but maybe by the number of coastal flood advisories or the lack thereof.
Well, you can do that. You can go back and, in fact, that's what I've been doing the last couple of winters, going back and comparing how this winter compared to other winters. And last winter wasn't too bad either. And this year was very, very good. And again, unfortunately, when you're at the shore, when you get those 20-inch snowfalls, what do you get? Severe tidal flooding, you get hurricane-force winds, and when you don't have those coastal storms, you don't get a lot of the elements that you would normally get.
Yep.
And one of the ones that is most critical certainly is flooding, and we didn't get that. And that's what I look for, a nice, clean winter with no tidal flooding.
Now, do you think we should expect any surprises towards maybe the end of March, or?
Well, March came in like a
lamb.
Like a lamb. What's the saying?
Well, it could go out like a lion, according to the Proverbs, but of course Proverbs aren't always correct.
Right, so we'll keep our eyes open for that. And again, everything a meteorologist does today is model data, through looking out, trying to look as far out as you can to see something happening. And up until 2 days ago, only one model was showing some kind of 5-6 inch snowfall around the 11th or 13th, something like that. But then I looked at them today, and the Canadian model is showing something similar. But as I was telling Palma earlier, the model shows that North Jersey one run, South Jersey the next run, North End just flip-flops back and forth. But I wouldn't rule out snow for the end of March, certainly, as you know.
And we've had recent history with snow in March and April.
Yep.
We were talking before the show. 2014, we had a St. Patrick's Day snowstorm that brought like 8 to 10 inches of snow, which a lot of people dyed green for their snowmen and, snow figures.
Drank
and
a lot of green beer, too.
Green beer as well.
Yeah.
And then I think 4 days later, like on the first day of spring, we had like another, or maybe a week later, into spring, we had a snowstorm. 2016 or 2017, we had 4 or 5 inches of snow in April 8th, I want to say, in Atlantic County. So you can't count it out, but obviously, the chances go down.
Right.
But not for tidal flooding, because that can happen year round.
Oh yeah, 12 months a year. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And March over the years climatologically has been ferocious for coastal flooding, and that's where our biggest storm occurred.
Yep.
And that's coming up next week, the anniversary of the 62
superstorm, the 62 storm. Yes, that's right.
It was Ash Wednesday back
then. That's right.
Ash Wednesday back then.
Or the 5 high storm. And why do they call it the 5 high storm?
5 successive high. Well, actually, people thought that was because when the Redskins scored the touchdown, they did the high 5. But no, it was the 62 storm actually.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we set that record straight.
Now I can't go back that many years, but it pops up like memories on my phone, and it was snowing last year today, I believe.
I think the first 2 or 3 days of March we had at least 2 or 3 inches of snow. I want to say yes. Yeah, March can be a very fickle month, and I've on TV I've often used the phrase meteorological March Madness. You got the March Madness basketball tournament. I mean, one of my favorite times of the year, coming up in a few weeks. But it can be a month where you can have 80, almost 90-degree weather, and I think we've also had below zero temperatures to start the month of March. So as far as the extremes, they don't get any more extreme during the month of March.
Well, this is what we refer to as a transition month. And then when you're in the summer going into the fall, you look for October as a transition month. So this is you have to watch this one. And the other thing about this time of year, 2 things. The high school wrestling championships at the
That's right, Boardwalk Hall, yep.
And Shamrock Shakes.
Oh, right.
Love Shamrock Shakes.
Mickey D's, right? So it has also been windy recently.
Very windy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of tonight's Tidal Flooding Talk. My name is Palma Accardi, and we're here at the Irish Pub in Atlantic City.
And you were hopefully watching part 1, some connectivity issues on this first day of March. We welcome back Jim Eberwine. We were in the middle, before we got interrupted, we got off topic a little bit. We got lost in the Vineland somewhere.
Yeah.
Talking about fires and Waze. And
Waze took us.
Yeah, so Waze got us off track, and thankfully the connectivity will hopefully get us back on track now.
And I did see, when we were lost, I saw the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, okay.
I actually saw him.
Do you believe in the Jersey Devil?
Oh, well, when you're getting off a midnight shift going through the plant barrier, you're delirious anyway. So, yeah, I think I saw him twice.
Yeah, I remember when I was in elementary school and finding all these books on the Jersey Devil. I was so scared for so long.
I know my wife does. She believes adamantly that the Jersey Devil's out there. And didn't it originate locally? Well, Leeds Point, right? Leeds Point, yep. Which does flood. I mean, that's right on your tidal marshes up there.
Well,
right?
they got buildings over there that have watermarks on the inside of the buildings up there.
Flooding caused by the Jersey Devil?
Perhaps.
Perhaps, yeah.
Now, is March, the end of meteorological winter, is it too soon to look ahead to hurricane season, which doesn't begin till June 1st?
Well, I always tell people this is a period where another month you want to exhale because you've been preparing for winter.
Yep.
You've been in an excited state, looking for big storms, and now you're going to transition a couple months into the hurricane season. So exhale a little bit, and then we'll be starting up again, looking at the hurricane season as well.
And if there is a break, which there isn't officially a break at the Jersey Shore, because we talk about it all the time, tidal flooding is a year-round threat. We have the Mother's Day nor'easter, but April and May are probably the time where it's too early for hurricanes, and usually it's too late for bigger nor'easters. But there are exceptions. But if there is a quiet time of the year, it's April, May.
Right.
And it's probably a good time to look at your emergency weather kit again, make sure that's properly stocked up so that when it is the season, you're already prepared.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, during the hurricane season, the forecasters look for that dust coming off the African coast. Well, 2 weeks ago, I was looking at a storm that actually moved off the continental U.S., went right across the Atlantic, and rapidly intensified. And you should have seen how much dust it was pulling off the African coast and just bringing it right out into the eastern part of the Atlantic. And that's starting already. So,
and that dust is a factor as to how many hurricanes we see and don't, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's the funny thing about it too? That dust that you see down in South America, where you get the heavy rains and the soils get washed away, that dust actually comes across the Atlantic into South America, and it's very fertile, and the greenery comes back. It's nutrient rich. So what's washed away by the heavy rains, everything has a purpose on this.
It's all a cycle, right?
It's all a cycle. You look at that dust and say, look at that ugly stuff, but actually it's going to benefit the people down in the rainforest. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Let me ask you this. Long-range forecasting, something we've talked about. I like the hurricane forecast because, number one, we've had some success with it as far as forecasting numbers. Not necessarily where they're going to go, but active, inactive, normal. Number two, hurricane forecast comes out, people start thinking, preparing, getting their kits. Like Palmer said, people, all right, it's hurricane season, they're talking forecast, I'm going to prepare now for flooding, for storms. What's your take on winter forecasting? I think we had you on in December, and a winter forecast is something I reluctantly do, and I've never liked doing it. And I don't think any forecast I saw this year said a half an inch of snow in South Jersey and one of the warmest winters on record. So what's the usefulness? Oh, well, Palmer's just said that. I was wrong. I said slightly above average snow and average temperatures, which means I was off by about 18 inches. So what's the usefulness of winter forecasts?
The hurricane forecast, which originally came out in '84 by Dr. Gray, it was based on the amount of rainfall in the Sahel Desert in Africa and the sea level pressures in Central America, say, all right, around the Panama Canal. So they were using two factors. Then they started using the water temperatures, and then they started looking at other global parameters. But compared to the winter, you have to look at the Arctic Oscillation, Eastern Pacific Oscillation, the Madden, Julie. All of these things have to come into phase, and they're relatively new, and I don't think a lot of people really understand how to use all of them yet to make a real good winter forecast. There's so many variables, but the most important thing I think here, living in the Northeast like we are, it is the most difficult place to forecast snow because you have the Appalachians, and now you have an Atlantic Ocean which is running 5-6 degrees above normal in the western boundary of the Atlantic, and you look at the setup this year. All these lows are trying to come down, but you got this kind of semi-permanent high pressure. It's acting like a big boulder sitting out there. The storms come down. The cold air cannot get all the way down to the Carolinas. Remember the Carolina lows? We haven't seen really good coastal storms in years. The last one I think was 92. 92 was the last storm that was really a classic nor'easter because it had the boundary of the Gulf Stream, the cold air coming off the continent, the low forms, and then it moves up. But you're right. I would prefer the hurricane forecast over a winter forecast any day. Absolutely.
Because let's say there's 20 things that go into the winter forecast. You can get 19 of them and nail them, but you mess up one.
You're done.
And then
Especially
you're done.
the snow.
You're finished. Yeah, because every forecast, not every, but most of the forecasts, we have to deal with a rain snow line. It seems like all the time. And the only time you don't have to deal with it is when the low is 150 miles south of you, and then stays out at sea as it comes up. But other parts of the country, they don't worry about the type of precip, they worry about the amount of snow. But I say this today, it's the most difficult forecast along the eastern seaboard to forecast snow.
And unfortunately, it's the forecast that most people look out for and are critical of. So if you forecast 12 inches and you get a half an inch, you will hear about it. It is like kind of the sexiest forecast that meteorologists issue, for lack of a better adjective.
Well, like Palmer was saying, getting things ready for the hurricane season. The way I looked at Dr. Gray's forecast when he started them, a lot. They really didn't mean a lot, but what they were a call to action. Hurricanes are here. These are the amount of storms this is the amount of storms we're going to have. These are the hurricanes that we could have. So that was kind of a call to action. In the wintertime, it's so difficult. I mean, you look at that. Did you ever see that thing that I think Cosin and Mussolini put together about the schematic of a winter storm? It's got 20 different things feeding into it. It's like, my God.
And what you were mentioning in part one of tonight's tidal flooding talk was that is not really even how you judge a good or a bad winter. You focus more on the tides and the flooding.
Yes, that's how I measure a bad winter. I mean, you can get the snows and paralyzing snows, but 2010 was a paralyzing snow. Jonas was a paralyzing snow. Before that, it was 78, 79. They were paralyzing.
Yeah, 2009/10. That was the winter where we had multiple significant tidal floodings. We had 2 blizzards that winter, 3 in just over a year. I mean, that was your snow lovers, dream winters, right? And then this is the dream winter of those that don't like snow.
And then we had 93, 94. Every other event was an ice event. Remember that? Every other event was an ice event. It just kept going. That was devastating.
So is there an outlook for March this year, the month as a whole?
Yes, and that's what we were talking about before we came on. March is forecast to be above normal temperature-wise, and also below normal precip. So they're the 2 shoes that have to drop for, as you were mentioning, concerns for wildfires. That's one. And above normal, that would imply that you're going to have less of a chance of, say, a coastal storm, because your warm air has to come from the south. And this time of year, you start to get these air masses coming up from the south, but you still have cold air aloft. The other thing, too, that we always look for, not so much March, but April into May, down along the Gulf Coast, severe weather. Yeah, that's another thing. Those people down there look at that as we look at, winter storms up here.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is February where we had tornado warnings in Maryland, Delaware, southwestern New Jersey, actually. This February, a confirmed tornado in Elkton, Maryland,
Cecil
right?
County,
which is just crazy. So it's weird that we're talking tornadoes, not tidal flooding. We're talking, record warmth, not snow. It's been a very strange winter. Usually we have throughout the winter when we've done tidal flooding talk, in coastal flood advisories, coastal flood warnings to warn our viewers about. There's been very few even advisories this winter. There's been very, very few.
And that wind event or tornado you were talking about in Cecil County, that line that came through had no thunder, no lightning. It was just rotation. That's all it was. So that was a very unusual event that came through. But it is. To not worry about coastal flooding is a big deal for me. I enjoy that. But I must say that I teach down in Cape May, and I think last semester I told the students, I think it was November or December, I said, this winter's looking pretty tough if we get certain things happen. I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see 20-inch snow down lower end of South Jersey this year. So my reputation's going out the window. So I'm praying that we see something.
I know teachers are dying. I mean, no one wants coastal flooding, but teachers are dying for a snow day. It'd be nice they're going to get out on time this year, but and kids too. It's tough.
I know.
And I've said it. If I'm a snow lover. I'd be depressed right now beyond belief if I wasn't up in New England for the November snowstorm when we had like 17 inches, and I think I'd be on just at death's door right now, saying, "All right, where's my snow?"
Well, how are things up in Pennsylvania, Northeast PA?
Very snowless.
Yeah.
Like northern Maine is where you got to look for snow. They're above average. The Great Lakes are above average, like Marquette, Michigan, where I used to work. But no, Northeast corridor snow lovers: New York, New Jersey, PA, DC. Very, very tough winter.
Well,
But like you said, a good winter here at the shore because business is booming in Atlantic City.
Yep.
We've had very few road closures and tidal flooding events. It doesn't mean you can't let your guard down.
Right.
Even though April and May, you can usually breathe a sigh of relief. We've been breathing a sigh of relief for January, February, and now March.
Well, you saw what happened up in New York. They had the lake effect snow.
Yes.
They got 48 inches of snow up there because the lakes are still open. They never froze over.
Yep.
So this cold air mass that came through recently, you had this lake effect snow, and it buried parts of New York.
Yeah,
you know?
I have been checking for comments. If you're watching live on Facebook, you could always add your comments or ask questions.
And this isn't a new thing. Part 1, Part 2. We just had a technical glitch. You tune into Part 2. Part 1 is posted if you wanted to view it in its entirety and see where we left off. Hopefully, it was a seamless transition.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I did see a comment on the last post about Shamrock Shakes and that there is no snow. This part 2, just, hello from Virginia Gaudinsky. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correct. Hi, Dan. Good to see all of you. And, not much else comment-wise.
Well, Jim just so covers everything so thoroughly
I
and
think
so
there were
well.
probably more on the other posts, but right now I'm on this live.
Plus, we've talked everything from flooding to ways to fires to Shamrock Shakes to. I think we've covered just about everything possible in Part 1 and Part 2 combined. Next week, we're going to have meteorologists. We're going to just flood Palma. Since we're not getting tidal flooding, we're going to flood Palma with back-to-back meteorologists here. Joe Martucci's on. He was back in January before the AMS conference. He presented at, which is kind of an honor and something not everyone gets to do. Joe's one of our favorite guests, Jim and Joe both, and always a great guest. He'll be on next Sunday for more weather talk about the winter that wasn't, the spring that is, and
the one thing we had last week, we had those sonic booms.
That's right.
We had a couple of sonic booms on Thursday, I think, between 9:25 and 9:30.
Yes.
In addition to all the winds.
To all the winds, and so far it is considered a sonic boom. They haven't been able to track the source, but you living here at the shore, we get them on occasion.
We get them frequently, and people think it's something more. They think earthquake, or they think HARP or conspiracy, or they don't think sonic boom. They think it's made up, but I did so much investigating every time we heard one, and it created so much Facebook buzz. And it's a sonic boom. This weather that generates can make the sound echo and reverberate more. Right. And we have so many military bases nearby.
New Jersey sits in an ideal spot because just offshore we have what they call a racetrack.
Yes.
That's where the military does a lot of their operations. And under atmospheric conditions, that sound can carry, and depending on how high the jet is, that sound will carry inland. In many cases, it goes all the way back to Hamilton. If it's pretty high, say 30,000 feet, that sound will carry. But I don't. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I haven't really noticed a noise. I feel the shaking more than I.
Yes.
I don't hear the boom.
Right.
No, people think it is subterranean because the house shakes. They don't necessarily hear the sound, but it is a sonic boom almost all the time.
All the time.
We had an earthquake or two back in
Richmond, Virginia.
September and August 2011 before Irene, and then we had an earthquake at our Coastal Coalition
I remember
holiday party in December.
You came up to me and you were like, I think we just had an earthquake. I was like, what?
So we get the shakes here. Besides the Shamrock Shakes,
I thought it was our Santa Claus that are shaking at our tidal flooding party, holiday party. So I think we can chalk off everything now because now we threw in sonic booms and earthquakes, and that rounds out everything we've talked about this week.
We do have a question here. Well, Jesse Yielding says, yes, I felt that in Pleasantville. And Dan Devlin wants to know, will the winds keep up like they have been? No, that's a contributor to fire weather, which we did.
Yeah, that is a concern. They're going to die off tomorrow, and then we get a little bit of rain. But what's funny is the rain that falls in the Pine Barrens, it can rain an inch and a half, and the next day it's gone. then you're back into a fire.
Because the soil just soaks everything up.
Soaks everything up, yeah.
Here at the shore, a lot less so, right?
Right.
Of course, there isn't a whole lot of soil, which means that when we flood at the shore, when there's tidal flooding, we always say the heavy rain makes tidal flooding worse because it adds water to the system.
Right.
You can't say, all right, this is your rainwater flooding, this is your tidal flooding.
Right.
It all blends into one.
Well, so to wrap that up at fire, northwesterly wind, 15 up to 25 miles an hour more, relative humidity about 25%, and that'll do it. That's a pure setup for wildfire spread, not so much starting fires.
Well, we hope the fire season is as quiet as the tidal flooding season has been. That would be nice.
Yes.
Jim Eberwine's been our guest. We welcome him. It seems every 2 or 3 months, at least once a season, we get Jim on to share his expertise. We appreciate him joining us this week, and it means he'll be due back in right around the start of hurricane season. So, and we'll see by then the hurricane season forecast will be out. That's one of the very few long-range forecasts I like. Yep. We'll get his expertise on that. So you're getting the invite now in May to talk about hurricanes.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, we'll have a little gift for you, as usual. Let's see what we got. This is actually 2 gifts in one. It's an Irish pub hat and then a pin as well.
I am a pin freak.
Are you? Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect.
I wear tons of pins.
Kim in the gift shop recommended it, and it is very nice.
I will wear this. I will wear it.
Jim Eberwine, thank you so much for joining us.
Jim.
Thank you.
We hope for a quiet spring of flooding and fires and nor'easters and 18 days until astronomical spring.
Yep.
And you got 2 months till hurricane season begins, right?
Yep.
March, April, 3 months. March, April, May.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you back here soon next week for meteorologist Joe Martucci. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night.